It began with a disappearance. A 17-year-old girl, Maya Dawson, from a quiet suburb, living a life most people thought was simple, safe, predictable. And then there was Aiden Blake, a boy who wasn't supposed to be in her world, an 18-year-old from the gritty streets, tangled in a life he never wanted, yet somehow couldn't escape. Their paths crossed by chance. Their connection? Instant. And with it came the spark of something that would burn everything to the ground. For months, no one saw it coming. A love between two people from opposite worlds, but a love that would ultimately shatter everything they knew. But when Maya vanished without a trace, when Aiden's lifeless body was discovered in that abandoned warehouse, no one understood why. The police believed it was a simple case of runaways, that Maya had left home with Aiden, that they'd found a way to escape their lives. But we dug deeper. We uncovered secrets. A letter from Maya, hidden in the shadows. Messages she'd sent to her closest friend, Tasha. Words that hinted at something much darker than a teenage romance. A world no one had suspected. And as the investigation unfolded, the theory took hold. This wasn't just a love story gone wrong. This wasn't about two teens rebelling against the world. It was about something far bigger, far more dangerous. There was a name that kept appearing in the background, the Ravens. A criminal group, feared by many, but known by few. The deeper we dug, the more we realized just how entangled Aiden and Maya had become with them. But why? What had they gotten involved in that was so dangerous, so hidden? And then came the letter, a final message from Maya herself. She wrote, "If you're reading this, I'm already gone. I know the truth will come out, but you'll never know it all. Aiden and I weren't just running from our lives. We were running from something we feared." It was as if Maya had known that the truth was never going to be easy to uncover. That in order to survive, she'd had to disappear, to erase herself from the story. But why? In this episode, we will finally reveal what happened that night. The night everything changed. We will uncover the shocking truth of what led to Aiden's death. We'll answer the question, where's Maya now? What happened to her? And why did she vanish without a trace? But what we uncover may leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about this case. The answers are far darker than anyone could have imagined. Stay with us. The truth begins now. When we last left off, we had one clue, one piece of the puzzle that led us into a darkness no one expected. A letter from Maya Dawson herself. The words etched in ink, faintly trembling in their final confession. Aiden and I weren't just running from our lives. We were running from something we feared. Those words, those chilling words, they weren't just a plea for help. They were a warning. A warning that the world Maya and Aiden had stepped into was not just one of love, but one filled with fear, danger, and secrets that neither of them could escape. The connection to the Ravens, an underground criminal organization, was something we couldn't ignore. Their shadows lingered in the corners of every piece of evidence. Aiden, a young man already living on the edge, had been pulled into their grip long before Maya entered the picture. And Maya? She was in too deep. She had no idea what she was walking into, what kind of world Aiden was a part of. But slowly, over time, the pieces began to fit together. A single photo, Maya and Aiden side by side. They're standing in front of an alleyway that looked so ordinary, yet behind it lay a trail that led to something darker. It was a hidden world, a world Aiden was trying to escape, but it had already consumed him. That photo was just the beginning of the truth. And when investigators revisited it, they found something more. There was a spray-painted message on the wall near Aiden's body. The words etched in jagged letters, so raw, so desperate, they could almost scream. "They don't want us to be seen." At first, they thought it was part of the gang's usual graffiti. A symbol, a mark. But the more they dug into Aiden's past, the more they realized that this wasn't just a message. It was a cry for help. It was the final plea from someone who had realized far too late just how deep they were in. The Ravens weren't just involved in Aiden's death. They had orchestrated it. But Maya? She had been caught in the middle. Detectives pieced together a chilling timeline. Aiden had been involved in a deal, a small, desperate attempt to escape his debts. But in the world of the Ravens, there's no escaping once you're in. Maya had been pulled into that world. And just like Aiden, she didn't have a way out. But it wasn't just these findings that turned the case upside down. A hidden piece of evidence, something overlooked, came to light. The video was taken the night they disappeared. No one knew it existed. It had been buried in a folder, lost in the chaos of the investigation. But as soon as the detective saw it, everything clicked. In the footage, you can see Aiden, his face tense, his eyes darting nervously. Maya, right beside him, looking unaware, but still feeling the weight of the danger hanging over them. They were being followed. A dark shadow, barely visible in the corner of the screen, trails them slowly, deliberately. And most terrifying part, they knew it. Maya knew something was wrong. She reached for Aiden's hand, her face tightening with anxiety. She knew they were being watched, but still, she walked forward. The footage ends abruptly. It wasn't just coincidence. It was their final moments of freedom. Then, just when it seemed like we had reached a dead end, a new witness came forward. A witness who had been too afraid to speak before. This person, someone who had been close to Maya, someone who knew about her relationship with Aiden, revealed that Maya had disappeared for a reason. She wasn't just hiding from the police. She was hiding from something far more dangerous. The Ravens knew she was a threat. They had been watching her too, just like they had watched Aiden. What we now know is that the night Aiden was killed, Maya was not just a victim of circumstance. She was in danger. Her disappearance wasn't just about escaping a relationship gone wrong. It was about survival. The evidence leads to something darker, something no one had dared to consider before. These pieces, the photo, the message, the video, are no longer just clues. They are a warning. And the question remains, who was really after Maya? Was it the gang? Was it someone in her life? Or was there someone else, someone hidden in the shadows, waiting to strike? As we begin to unravel the final moments of that fateful night, we realize that this story is far from over. And the truth we're about to uncover, it's going to change everything. Maya Dawson wasn't always the girl who disappeared. She wasn't born into this world of shadows and lies. She was ordinary, a high school senior with a bright future ahead, a girl who loved to write, who spent her days dreaming about a life outside the confines of her small, quiet town. But everything changed the day she met Aiden. She wasn't supposed to fall for him. She knew that. Aiden was different. Rough around the edges, living a life full of uncertainty. And Maya had never wanted to be a part of that world. But somehow, she found herself pulled in, drawn to him, to his art, to the way he could see the world differently. She tried to ignore it. She tried to keep her world separate from his. But love, as it often does, blurred the lines. Maya didn't know everything about Aiden. She didn't know the depth of his involvement in the Ravens, the criminal group that had already set its sights on him. What she knew was that he had a past full of debts, violence, and regret. But she didn't ask. She didn't want to know. She just wanted to believe that love could change him. But the truth has a way of finding its way out. And soon, Maya found herself facing it head-on. One day, not long before their disappearance, Aiden opened up to her. The truth spilled out in fragments. He had owed money to the Ravens. He had done things he regretted, things that couldn't be undone. He was running from them. And Maya? She was caught in the middle. Maya's world was turned upside down. Everything she thought she knew about Aiden about their relationship, shattered in a single conversation. She wasn't just in love with a boy who was misunderstood. She was in love with someone who was trapped in a world she had no business understanding. But she couldn't walk away. She wouldn't. She had always been the responsible one, the one who followed the rules. But love doesn't follow rules. And suddenly, there was nothing else in Maya's world but Aiden. Cut to Maya writing in her journal, her pen moving quickly across the pages. The words are hurried, anxious. Narrator, slow, filled with emotion. It wasn't just about Aiden anymore. Maya had realized that she, too, was now caught in something far beyond her control. The night before they disappeared, she wrote in her journal, "I didn't think this would be my life. I didn't think I'd be running. But Aiden needs me. I need him. And maybe for the first time, we'll figure it out together. But I don't know what that means anymore." But it wasn't just the words. It was the fear that ran through her veins. Maya knew what Aiden was trying to protect her from. He had told her stories. Stories of men who wouldn't think twice about ending lives to keep their secrets. Stories of money changing hands, of power, of blood. And then, just as quickly as she had learned the truth, Maya felt something else take hold of her. Fear. The kind of fear that wraps itself around your heart and makes you question everything. Maya realized something she hadn't fully understood before. She wasn't just scared of losing Aiden. She was scared of losing her own life. So what did she do? She disappeared. Maya didn't just run from Aiden's world. She ran from the Ravens. She ran from a life that no longer seemed safe, from a reality that had been forced upon her. The decision wasn't easy. But when Maya walked out of her house that night, leaving everything behind, her family, her life, wasn't just to escape. It was to survive. Maya's disappearance wasn't a choice. It was her only chance to survive. She had to leave, to hide, to vanish. But leaving didn't mean freedom. It meant living in fear, living in hiding. For months, no one knew where she was. No one could find her, and the world went on, believing she had simply run away. But what we know now is that Maya was running from a nightmare, one that she could never escape, a nightmare that would come back for her. For weeks, investigators had been spinning their wheels. They had followed every lead, examined every possible connection, but still, the case seemed to lead nowhere. Aiden's body had been found. Maya had vanished without a trace. And yet, the most critical question still remained unanswered. Where was Maya? As the investigation dragged on, the police began to lose hope. But they missed something small, something insignificant at first glance, until a single piece of evidence was uncovered. This camera, belonging to someone who had been close to Aiden, was found tucked away, hidden in a dark corner of his apartment. At first, it seemed like an ordinary recording device, nothing special. But what it contained was anything but ordinary. The footage was grainy. The camera wasn't meant for anything more than personal use. But what was captured on that device would change everything. The date on the video? The night Maya disappeared. The last night she and Aiden were together. They were walking toward a darkened street, the kind of place no one should ever wander at night. Aiden's eyes darted back and forth. He was being followed, but he wasn't the only one aware of it. Maya, her face pale and tense, was clearly scared. She reached out to Aiden's arm, pulling him back slightly. They exchanged a few whispered words, barely audible. Then, as the camera shook, the shadow of a figure appeared in the distance. It was a man, tall, his face hidden beneath a hood. The figure didn't move, just watched them from the edge of the street. And then the video cuts off. This was the moment of truth. Maya and Aiden were being followed. But more than that, this wasn't just a random figure. This was someone connected to the Ravens, someone who had been watching them both. The man in the video had the unmistakable presence of someone who knew them, someone who had been hunting them. But there was something more. As the footage continued, one crucial detail was revealed. Hidden in the background of the video, barely visible, was another figure standing just behind the man. A second figure who was too quick to notice at first. That tattoo, the one we almost missed, was the same symbol found on several members of the Ravens. It was a warning. It was their way of marking their territory. And in that moment, it became clear that Maya and Aiden weren't just caught in a crime they couldn't escape. They were targets. But the most shocking part of this revelation, the second figure in the video wasn't just someone in the Ravens. It was someone from Maya's life, someone who had been close to her, someone who knew her deeply. That figure? It was Aiden Dawson, Maya's mother. Maya's own mother had been involved in this dark world all along. The revelation was clear. Maya's mother had known more than she let on. She had been a part of this world, the Ravens' world, long before Aiden or Maya ever stepped into it. What had she been hiding? Had she known that Maya was in danger? Had she been protecting her own secrets? Or was she just as trapped as her daughter? Everything we thought we knew about this case was just a mask. What we now know is that Maya's mother wasn't just a worried parent. She was entangled in a world of violence, control, and fear. And this revelation leads us to one final question. What was Adrienne's role in all of this? Was she trying to protect Maya? Or was she the one who led her into a world of chaos? How much do you really know about the people closest to you? This section introduces a major twist, revealing a hidden connection and shifting the entire perspective on the case. Ready to continue with the next section, or would you like to adjust anything here? The truth was closer than anyone could have imagined, but uncovering it didn't come without a cost. The deeper the investigators dug into Maya's disappearance, the more secrets they found, secrets buried deep beneath layers of lies, betrayal, and violence. The Ravens, Aiden's tragic fate, and Maya's desperate escape were all tied together. But it wasn't just about uncovering a mystery. It was about understanding the danger that lurked beneath the surface. The truth about Maya's mother, about her involvement in the Ravens, was the final piece of the puzzle. And when that truth hit, everything changed. Aiden Dawson had been keeping secrets, and now those secrets were about to catch up with her. The police weren't the only ones looking for answers. Maya's disappearance had caught the attention of someone else, someone who had been watching them all along. The Ravens knew everything. They had been tracking Maya for months, and now, with everything on the table, they were coming for her family. The final confrontation wasn't going to be easy. Maya's life was at stake, and everything she had tried to escape from was about to catch up with her. Maya had hidden herself for months, using every ounce of her will to keep herself out of the Ravens' reach. But as the investigation closed in on Adrienne's involvement, it became clear that Maya couldn't run any longer. And that's when everything changed. Maya knew it was time. She couldn't hide forever. But she wasn't going down without a fight. She had spent months living in fear, watching over her shoulder, hiding in plain sight. But now, she had to make a choice. She couldn't keep running. She had to confront the truth. Maya was ready to face the people who had been pulling the strings all along. The people who had kept her and Aiden trapped in their world of violence and betrayal. And as Maya walked toward the heart of the Raven stronghold, she knew she wasn't just walking into a confrontation with the gang. She was walking into a confrontation with her own mother, the one person who had sworn to protect her, the one person who had always told her that everything was going to be okay. But now, Maya was about to face the truth about her mother's involvement in it all. The question was Adria a victim? Or was she just as guilty as the rest? Maya stood before her mother. The final confrontation. Maya's heart raced, but she didn't flinch. Not anymore. Why, Mom? Maya asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Adrienne's eyes darkened. For the first time, there was no pretending, no more masks, no more lies. "I never wanted this for you," Adrienne replied, her voice shaking. "But you have no idea what it's like to be trapped in a world like this. The Ravens, they never let you go. Not once they have you." The truth was finally out. Maya's mother wasn't just a victim. She had been trapped in the Ravens' world for years, and her desperation to keep her family safe had led her down a path of violence and deceit. The truth was now in the open. Adrienne had been trying to protect Maya in the only way she knew how. But in the end, her attempts to keep her daughter safe had led her straight into the heart of the very thing they had both been trying to escape. What would you do if the person you trusted most was the one who had put you in harm's way? The truth had finally come to light. But no one walked away from this story unscathed. Maya had confronted her past. She had faced the darkest parts of her life, the very parts she had tried to escape. And in doing so, she discovered a truth more horrifying than she could ever have imagined. Her mother had been just as entangled in the criminal world as Aiden. Maya had hoped for answers, for peace, but instead, she found herself with more questions. Could things have been different? Could she have saved Aiden? Could she have stopped herself from getting caught in a web so dark, so dangerous, that escape felt impossible? The Ravens were gone. The truth about their grip on Aiden and Maya's lives had been exposed. But the scars remained deep, invisible, and haunting. Aiden was gone. He had paid the ultimate price for the choices he made. And though Maya had survived, her survival came at a steep cost. The world would never understand what Maya went through. How she had been forced to choose between love and survival. How her innocence had been ripped away by a cruel, twisted fate. Her mother, too, had paid a price for the choices she made. Adrienne had lived in fear for years, desperate to keep her daughter safe. But in doing so, she had trapped both of them in a world they couldn't escape. But it wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about rebuilding. The aftermath of this case wasn't just about catching criminals. It wasn't just about finding answers. It was about the costs of those answers. Maya had to face her own demons. Her love for Aiden, her guilt, her fear, and the truth about the world she had been pulled into. But through it all, she was stronger than anyone could have predicted. She wasn't the same girl who had left her house that night. She had walked through fire, and while she might never be whole again, she was still standing. Some stories end with closure, some with justice. But this story, it ended with questions that will never be answered fully. Maya's journey was one of survival, but it was also one of loss, betrayal, and endless uncertainty. The Ravens may have been taken down, but the scars of their existence linger, lingering in the people they left behind. What happens to a person when they realize the people they love are not who they seemed? What happens when the world around you breaks? For Maya, the real journey was only beginning. What do you think Maya's future holds now? Can she ever truly escape the past? The case may be closed, but the impact of what happened to Aiden and Maya will be felt for years to come. They were two young lives, full of potential, lost to a world of violence and lies. In the end, their story is a reminder of how dangerous it could be to get involved with the wrong people, and how, sometimes, the price of survival is more than anyone can bear. The story of Maya Dawson and Aiden Blake isn't just about crime. It's about love, loss, survival, and the dark realities that sometimes lurk in the corners of our lives. It's about the choices we make, the paths we follow, and the consequences of those decisions. For Maya, the journey wasn't just about escaping the Ravens. It was about facing the truth about herself, about Aiden, and about the world they had both been drawn into. In the end, Maya survived, but the price of that survival was far higher than anyone could have imagined. Aiden didn't make it out. He paid the ultimate price for the life he had been tangled in. His death was tragic, but it wasn't in vain. His story will be remembered. And Maya? She will carry the weight of that loss with her forever. But the story doesn't end here. The ripple effects of what happened that night will continue to reverberate throughout their lives, and perhaps the lives of others who were caught in the same web of danger. Sometimes, the world takes things from us that we can never get back. Sometimes we are forced to make choices that change everything. Choices that make us who we are, but also haunt us forever. And as Maya steps into her new life, free from the dangers of the ravens, she knows one thing for certain. She will never forget Aiden. Their love may have been brief, but it was real. And even in the face of betrayal, fear, and death, it was something worth fighting for. But what happens after the storm passes? After the truth has been exposed? This case may be closed, but the impact will last a lifetime. The story of Maya and Aiden reminds us all of the dangers that exist in the shadows, of the worlds we don't see, the ones that exist just beyond the surface. And sometimes, even when we think we've escaped the darkness never really lets us go. Thank you for watching. What do you think happened to Maya after all this? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more true crime stories. The story of Maya Dawson and Aiden Blake doesn't just end with answers. It leaves us with even more questions. The complexity of their love, the web of secrets, and the sacrifices made in the name of survival. These are the things that will continue to echo long after the story fades. But the truth doesn't always come easily. The dark truths are often hidden behind a veil, waiting to be uncovered. And it's our job to keep searching, to keep questioning, to keep seeking the answers that others may have overlooked. If this story left you questioning everything you thought you knew about love, loyalty, and survival, then we've done our job. But the journey isn't over. There's still so many unanswered questions, so many stories still waiting to be told. And this is just the beginning. If you want to hear the shocking truths behind the next case, the hidden stories that people don't want you to know, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next mystery that will keep you on the edge of your seat.